Hey guys, Lucas here again. Today we're going to be talking about episode 2 of True Detective. This episode is called Seeing Things, and if you haven't seen my review for the pilot, you could click that here, and don't watch this if you haven't seen the new episode because this will be full of spoilers. So here we go. So in this episode, the case kind of takes a backseat to more character development here as we find out a lot more about Martin or Woody Harrelson's character. And in the first pilot episode, he was portrayed as just a simple guy who was just kind of straight-laced, didn't have a lot on his mind. He was just, he wasn't as morbid or as complex as Rust is. And this one we find out he has a lot of vices of his own, and that whole facade is just kind of a front. As we find out, he has a mistress played by Alexandra Daddario, which I'm sure all of us were happy that we paid for HBO when that scene came on, even though she is not a great actress. We find out that he's cheating on his wife. Rust is on to him. This causes kind of a rift and between their relationship for a little bit, and then really you could see that the relationship with his wife is kind of strained now because she's kind of becoming suspicious. I also think Martin is also opened up more to the kind of morbidness that Matthew McConaughey's character elicits, because that in this episode he does reveal that his kid died to Martin, which I was wondering how long they were going to let that sit for the season, but it was revealed to him in the second episode, and I think that's kind of why I think Woody Harrelson now has more of an understanding of why Matthew McConaughey's character is like this. The thing that kind of threw me off of this episode is that you had that great line at the end of episode 1 where Russ says, if you want to find out, what's going on now, you better start asking the right fucking questions. So I thought that this was going to be more about that. And this case, and this episode obviously delved into the case. There's the whole scene where they go to the whore house, not really a house, but there's like this whole camp of prostitutes. And there's a lot of stuff going on with the case, but it's really, again, the show is more about characters first, stories second. But it was just kind of it was still a good episode. I really enjoyed it. It just that it kind of threw me off because it seemed like they were going to delve more into the case, especially after that, and they really didn't seem to ask. The two detectives that are questioning them didn't seem to be asking them a lot of questions about the case, which would have seemed like that's exactly what they would have done after a cliffhanger like that. That being said, this episode did feel slower than the first one, and there is, they do introduce some police cliches, like the whole wife thing, and there was a couple of things that I felt were forced, such like the metaphor for when Martin goes to his kid's room and he sees like the dolls that are all set up like it was some kind of murder. I thought, that's a little too much. But I do think the show does need to pick up in terms of the case, and that was kind of my biggest thing with this, even though I still found it entertaining. But then the show kind of turned around for me because there was this whole scene where their police captain calls them into their office. He says, you guys gotta pick this up, otherwise this other group is gonna take over your case for you. So you got 2 weeks because you guys literally got nothing right now. I felt like that was kind of something that the show knew that it kind of needed to pick up, and I felt like it was kind of speaking for the audience in a way. So I think the show is smart enough to know, like, hey, you're gonna get something coming soon. And I really like how Martin says that he didn't want to give this case up to the team that was coming in next. So I'm glad that right now they're focused on the case. Again, have a good cliffhanger. They go to this church, this whole burned down, abandoned church, and Rust pulls over this little curtain thing, and then you see this drawing of this figure with the antlers on the tree. So there's a sketch of basically the Dory Lane murder on this church, setting you up for next week's episode. So again, I really enjoyed this episode. I just think that it was kind of misleading, that whole ending last week, because it was such a great cliffhanger. But I think that next week, hopefully, they do pick up more with the case. And not to say, I'm fascinated by all the character development. I really dig these guys. I think they're really complex. I just felt like it was just kind of misleading. But overall, I think this is still really good. Not as strong as the pilot, like I said. But I'm still on board, and I can't wait to see where this thing goes. So, as again, this is all spoilers, so let me know what you thought below. Did you like this episode more than the first one? Less? Tell me why. Did you think there was not enough progression with the case? Let me know what you thought below, and let me know what you thought about that nude scene, because that's all I've been hearing about online apparently. So that's my review. See you guys next week. Keep watching, subscribe. See you guys later.